I think the first time that Seattle Women's Chorus actually became something I was thinking of was when Nancy Haver stopped me at Restoration Hardware one day and said, "You have to make a chorus for the women in Seattle that's just like the men's chorus."
And I just walked up to him and I said, "Dennis, can we have a women's chorus of Dallas here, please? And can you do it? Can you do that for me?"
Of course, I knew about the other women's choruses in the nation, like the Women's Chorus of Dallas, and knew that we could probably do the same thing here in Seattle, only even in a better way, of course. And then sort of dropped the idea.
It took a long time.
We had joined as associate members of the Seattle Men's Chorus in the early to mid '90s. Had always been coming to Seattle Men's Chorus concerts, and Petey retired and became an active volunteer, and I followed right along behind her.
The day after I retired, I went over and knocked on the door and said, "Here I am. How can I help you?" And so they put me to work doing, grunt work kinds of things. But a wonderful office, and I just really enjoyed it.
We were at a rehearsal, and then the chorus, the men's chorus, was singing, you guys were singing some glorious piece, and I can't recall what it was, but it just got me. And I turned to the then board president, Doug Exworthy, and said, "Doug, in a city like Seattle, with an arts, the supporting arts programs that we have, and the numbers of women out there who might like to sing, why in the world can't we have a Seattle Women's Chorus to complement the Seattle Men's Chorus?" And Doug looked at me and his eyes got big, and he said, "My word, I know this has been talked about before, and we have all the supporting systems. We have ticketing, marketing, publicity, networking, fundraising, all in place. Wouldn't that be a wonderful idea?" He really egged me on.
The board considered it at a retreat at that point and decided it wasn't the correct timing for us to launch into another venture.
It fizzled. The idea fizzled. And at that point, Petey and I met two gals who were singing in a group called the Washingtonians, a local musical theater group.
So the four of us went off and sang in the Washingtonians for 4 years. And then the Washingtonians fell apart in 2002.
And the director let the group know, and we went into collective mourning. And after a period of 2 or 3 weeks of mourning, I said to Petey, the light bulb, the Seattle Women's Chorus light bulb has just gone on again, and perhaps the timing is better in this period.
I remember being at the regional gala festival that was over Memorial Day weekend in May of 2002, and there were a group of women who came to every concert, and Jane and Petey and Nancy Haver and Chris Kuchera and Maureen Warren, and after each block of concerts we would converge in the aisle and say, "Oh, I wish we were up there. I wish we were singing. We've got to find a way to sing again. And isn't it time for SMC to make room for a sister chorus?"
Since the first go-around was in May of 1998, here we were in May of 2002. So we started a little more smartly, and we started talking to staff in the office.
Jane and I have always talked about wanting to have a women's chorus. And wouldn't it be wonderful if it could be with the Emerald City Arts? So we had lunch with Dennis.
Small talk. You always make small talk to start anything, whether it's a big item or a small item. And Dennis doesn't do small talk very well. And so very quickly he said, "Well, now, what's this about a women's chorus?" And we went, "Oh!" We didn't even know that he knew, but of course he had, because Paul had already talked to him, and there'd already been some very informal meetings within the office structure to lay a little groundwork. And so Dennis asked about it and what our ideas were, and we told him we wanted a group of entertainers, women who wanted to sing and have fun, and be challenged by music, but not try to be political or have message songs or the kinds of things, the kinds of culture that many women's groups fall into, is being cause people and that kind of thing. And well, what would we call it? Well, Seattle Women's Chorus, of course. Seattle Men's Chorus, Seattle Women's Chorus. Well, who would direct? Well, we just sat there and looked at Dennis for a few minutes. And it was kind of a long pause. And Dennis looked back, and he got that gleam in his eye, and he said, "Well, I suppose I could do it. I could do it. I could do that." Well, we thought that was just wonderful, of course. And things took off from there.
So we all got together and had a meeting at Petey and Jane's house. There were, I believe, 12 of us there, 12 women, some of whom are in the chorus now. And we met and discussed the possibilities of having this chorus and what it would be and what it wouldn't be. And Dennis was, I think, impressed with our attitude and our energy around that. And so I think that's how it all started.
They were just so excited and so full of energy. We just all said, yes, it is time. Now it fits. Now it works.
I got a phone call from Tom Lunow saying that he had heard about this proposal and that Dennis seemed interested, that Paul Bauer seemed very excited about the possibility. And I have to admit, my first impression was a little bit of trepidation, some fear almost. Oh my goodness, we're in tough economic times. How can we possibly expand right now?
Usually you want to come to your board with a complete proposal that has a budget, a plan of when they're going to perform, all these things. Yet we weren't in a position where we could do it quite in that order. We were at the end of the season. June had rolled around, and the guys needed to be informed to see if there'd be a backlash or a huge support or where they stood.
So that meant gathering them together during a warm-up period before one of the June ABBA shows. The board was going to vote on this resolution in early July, so it was even preceding a board vote. David Nilsson presented the idea of a women's chorus and a little bit of the background to the men on stage, and Petey and I were in the audience, having been asked to be there. We were in the audience thinking, just almost biting our nails, thinking, all it takes is one negative comment from somebody who really maybe doesn't like women or might feel threatened by a women's chorus to set off a kind of a chain reaction. And so we just sat and waited. And David presented it wonderfully, and Dennis added comments, of course, and with his own wonderful way of supporting the idea, and also Tom Lunow. And it was the most wonderful thing because someone on stage started in with a very positive remark, a very positive, almost testimonial to what it would mean to have a Seattle Women's Chorus and how it would enhance what was already being done in the way of the mission statement and the vision, and some very wonderful positive remarks. And this was picked up by another person, and then by another man, and then by another man, and then by another man, and we were just, oh. Well, I just get a big lump in my throat. In fact, someone on stage, out of nowhere, just said, "Thank you, Petey and Jane, for getting this started."
So we did that. We held a big meeting where Dennis just explained, here's what we're thinking of doing, what do you think? And the guys were on the stage and they cheered wildly, and we said, well, we're onto something good here.
The reaction was just so warm and so positive that it was very, very exciting. In fact, at the time I was a little bit scared because being on the board, I was concerned that we would take that enthusiasm and not be thoughtful enough. But I simply wanted us to be thoughtful as well as enthusiastic.
I think that there was maybe a perception that if the Seattle Men's Chorus and ECA added a women's chorus, that it might present a conflict to the audience about which chorus to support. And I think people maybe tend to see things as an either-or type situation where they couldn't maybe wrap their minds around the idea of attending both choruses.
Would we be able to uphold the reputation that Emerald City Arts has had over the years? Would we fit in to this new form family? Would it be overwhelming for the staff? Would it work in a financial sense? Supporting one chorus is hard enough, but supporting two is, I think, more than double the work. So I think there was a lot of risk involved.
Everyone's worked so hard in forming the organization, in creating an audience for the men's chorus, and in creating a culture and an atmosphere that is absolutely unmatched in any other organization that I've ever been involved with. And so we were worried that maybe we couldn't do it as well with the women's chorus.
And of course, some of the board members said, whoa, hold on, maybe we should study this for a year. And I said, no, if you study it for a year, the women won't be here by the time you finish the study. It sort of became a situation where you leaped, you took the chance, you rode the wave, and it just felt right.
The board meeting itself was very impressive. It was very impressive. The discussion was wonderful, very thought-provoking. And in the end, there were no, after a great deal of good discussion by a very grown-up board, there were no votes against this resolution, which was very heartwarming and supportive. And we realized then that we were really going to happen. There was going to be a Seattle Women's Chorus.
We came to the conclusion that our concerns were just not substantial enough to stop us from doing this pretty wonderful thing. So we decided to take the plunge and go ahead.
The one thing I would want people to remember about our decision to start the women's chorus when we did was that it was a welling up of energy and excitement that carried all of us along and said, this is the right thing to do.
I first heard about Seattle Women's Chorus on the sidewalk at 2nd and Jerry, outside of my office building. Peggy Graybill said, "Hey, Vic," I used to sing with her in another chorus, "Seattle Women's Chorus. Dennis Coleman started a chorus." I said, "You're kidding." "No, call the chorus office to audition." I said, "I'm there." I was so excited.
I read in the Emerald City Arts Bulletin about the formation of the Seattle Women's Chorus and about how it came to be. And knowing Dennis Coleman's artistry with the Seattle Men's Chorus, I immediately got on the telephone and got an appointment for an audition and was just so excited when I was accepted.
So the Chorus Quarterly came out with the information about the Seattle Women's Chorus that it was forming. There was a letter from Dennis describing the intention and so forth, and then actually the thing that really got me was the article about the Wenatchee trip. That was really wild, and I read it and I just got goosebumps. And hearing about these guys going there and their experience and how they were helping this community, and then I read about the women's chorus forming, and I said, I've got to do this.
The very first rehearsal was, actually I don't remember it.
The altos are seated on this side of the room for the lower altos in the back 2 rows, and the upper altos in the front 3 rows. Over on the other side, the first soprano, the higher soprano in the back 2 rows, and the second soprano in the front 2 rows. So as I look at the chorus, it goes from the highest soprano to the lowest alto.
The way they had the chair set up, I thought, oh, this is way too many chairs. You know, when we first got there, and the chairs just kept filling up, and the numbers were impressive. And then the way Dennis starts a rehearsal and the way he started that one was, okay, here's your music, here we go, arrange yourselves in these sections, and off we go. I mean, it was like music from the get-go. I loved that.
There were all of these women there I'd never seen before, and they were sort of milling about nervously. I just thought, oh my God, I hope they know how to sing. I hope they love Dennis. I hope they want to be here.
I noticed, you know, women that I'd watched over the years perform and I'd performed with. Some I'd performed for years with, and it was kind of like a reunion of sorts. And also all the new faces, and just how powerful this was that all these women were here. And I think when we started singing and making noise together for the first time, I thought, this is the coolest thing in the world.
I was a little bit in awe of Dennis. You know, there he is, being the director and everything, and you know, he does such a great job with the men's chorus, and he was sort of like a god. And I was nervous about meeting people. Like, how would I do in this group that I assumed was largely lesbian, and it's a community I'm new to, so I didn't know how I would fit in or how I would feel, or if I'd I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I wasn't sure how that was all going to go. And also I was concerned about my voice. Like, would I be able to sing, and how would I sound with the other people? And they're all going to sing correctly, and I will be singing incorrectly, of course. And so all of those things were kind of running through my mind.
When we had our first rehearsal, it was just great. It was really nice to see everybody again. We were really excited. You could just feel the energy in the room, and I mean, I just remember what a gas it was to sit there and look up at Dennis and just think, okay, this is actually happening.
I was concerned about whether I was going to be the only straight woman there or not. And even though I feel that I am a very tolerant, open, and accepting person, I have to admit I have stereotypes, and it lasted about 10 minutes.
To be honest, I'd never been in the room with that many gay people before, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I felt so comfortable and so me for the first time ever, and that feeling has grown week after week after week.
Asked if he could come and say a word as a founding member of the men's chorus, and he wrote something very sweet and asked me to read it. And I said, no, I'll start crying so he gets it.
How did you Yeah, I'll sing it to you, right? For those of you who are reading impaired, it's in your music band, but I'll read it to you, right? As a long-term member of SMC, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you into Emerald City Arts on the behalf of the singing membership of Seattle Men's Chorus. You are becoming part of an organization dedicated to excellence in music, as well as political and societal goals of acceptance, love, and friendship. As members of SMC and our extended family, we want you to know that we not only approve of your audition addition to our family, we covet your talent, your friendship, and your involvement in the organization. We encourage you to strive for musical excellence, set high goals for yourself, and become involved in leadership roles within Emerald City Arts as well as Seattle Women's Chorus. If you do not already realize it, this is all about volunteerism. The rewards are great, and the journey is interesting, challenging, and above all, fun. You will get out of this experience what you put into this experience. You are at a distinct advantage because you are starting your chorus in a well and established and successful organization, allowing you to quickly jump many hurdles involved in creating a new organization for yourselves. Your first director is the best in the business. Sing well, work hard, get involved, and make yourselves and your SMC brothers proud of you. We welcome you with open arms and warm hearts and look forward to creating bonds of love and friendship that will enhance this experience for all of us. Sing well, my lovers.
I regret that I wasn't able to be there for the opening minutes of the rehearsal, but I understood and respected the fact that that needed to be a very private experience for them. But I really felt very honored that the doors were allowed to be opened during the beginnings of break and to hear and feel the energy that was coming out of that room. And I caught some of Roger Fowler's reading of his opening letter to the women's chorus and their welcoming, and it was very emotional.
I think that one of the biggest things I remember about that first rehearsal was that there were going to be treats, and there would always be treats, and we didn't have to bring them. I love that.
I can't believe it's actually happening, and thank God they're here and they're taken care of and everything's going smoothly.
I had to pinch myself about 1,000,000 times during that first rehearsal. Being amazed at how many women were there, being amazed at how many men showed up to welcome us. My darling friend Kevin Gallagher arrived and gave me a bouquet of flowers. We would sing a song and I would immediately tear up. It was such an overwhelmingly glorious night. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And so many people had worked so hard to get us there. It was just pure joy and magic. That's what I remember.
Now repeat, please.
The reality is that it's a lot of work. In my dreams and in my fantasies, it never takes all the work and the memorization and the showing up at rehearsal week after week. It just kind of magically happens. So remembering and doing all the work is the reality. And that's okay, because it takes work to make something wonderful.
First performances were amazing. The planning, the way that Dennis and the board folks laid out the opportunity for us was so gorgeous. Our audience met us by seeing us with the men. To open with two pieces opening the second half of the Christmas shows. But it was so wonderful because here we were and we looked great.
Everett was our first actual appearance, so that was a big step for everyone. And it was an almost full house, and it was a very responsive crowd, and it felt good. So it was a nice first step. But the next evening, when the first woman came into view in Benaroya, followed by another and another and another, the sound started in that auditorium, in that hall, and it was like by the time, I'm kind of in the middle of that procession, and by the time I started up on the risers, the sound and you can see something too, you could see people getting out of their seats, and the wave just came out of the audience and rolled over us and rolled around us. And I said to myself, because you couldn't talk to anybody at that moment, don't cry, don't cry. You don't dare cry, because if you cry, you won't be able to sing. And then, of course, we were on the risers, and it continued, and it continued. And for once, Dennis didn't have to tell us to smile, because the mouths were just breaking, you know. And then Dennis came out, and in his wonderful way, he looked at us with this beautiful look of, see, I could have told you that, which I did to begin with. He did earlier. And then we focused on him and sang, I think, very well.
They were just so thrilled to be there. And we were so thrilled to have them.
It was a much grander feeling than even I anticipated, because they were so new, young, embryonic, virginal, if I might say, about the experience, because it was their very first time, and we were doing yet another wonderful December concert, but we had this powerful presence beside us.
And it was kind of like graduation day, and you know, they'd been wearing caps, they would have probably thrown them in the air. And we were there lined up to go in, and so there was a lot of smacking, and give me the high five, and the shaking of hands, and even hugs and kisses, and well, it's seldom things like that happen.
It was tremendous support that the men gave us. The men, not the leadership of the chorus, if you will, the members, you know, the second sopranos or the upper first tenors or whatever sections they're in the men's chorus. They were incredible backstage for us, and I don't know any women's chorus that would have that like we did.
When I went out to the audience after the shows and would talk to people, I had this really strange feeling of as though I were some sort of, you know, proud father handing out cigars or something. I just felt so pleased at what they were doing on that stage with us.
I remember being struck by the production. I remember lining up in the wings and walking out on stage behind the curtain, because we had a curtain in Fifth Avenue, and all of us holding our breaths.
Kirkwood, 222, spot 232. Down left leg. Warmers out to go. Burton, go. 222.
danger, humiliation, and unbearable discomfort,
Undeterred, these brave souls blaze a trail for the rest of us, preparing us for the day when we too must walk down that same treacherous road. We, of course, are speaking of meeting your partner's parents for the very first time.
Call your folks, Jeanette, Isabella, call your folks, collect if you can. Tell them that you'll be home for Christmas, you'll bring your mate. Her name is Bella. Skeptical is your mother, critical is your dad.
Jeanette Isabella was a real fun piece to start with, and I think it was a great icebreaker for us and just being able to sing and get our nervousness out.
Singing in Fifth Avenue. Now, I had been to performances at Fifth Avenue as a spectator, but to actually be on a stage and have that many people, like hundreds and hundreds of people, embracing you and applauding you and looking straight at you, it was so incredible. I mean, it was the most beautiful, maddening feeling of getting into oneself.
I was so proud and I was so happy that I actually started crying a little bit.
It just was so totally uplifting, and even more so when we came off the stage and the men of the Seattle Men's Chorus were so up in their encouragements and enthusiasm of saying, right on, you all sounded so good. It just was just totally exciting and totally fulfilling, and all that I would hope it would be for the first performances.
It's like we all, I don't know what the rest of them felt like, but I felt like Cinderella. I felt like we had arrived at the ball. And I felt like, I really felt like a princess. A little dyke princess. And it was wonderful. I felt such respect. I felt such care. I felt professional. And I felt like we had completely bypassed and sidestepped years of minutia that so many choruses must go through to get to that maybe 10-year mark where they finally reached a spot. We got through in the first show, and it was stunning.
And it was all too short. And of course, a wonderful response when we were through. But afterwards, backstage, I talked to a number of people, and almost to one woman, people said the same thing. The gal said the same, had the same reaction. If I cry, I won't be able to sing. I just can't believe this wonderful, wonderful response. So what a way to start.
We're now preparing for our full performance, where we are doing the whole first and second act and encore and everything in between. And suddenly the memorizing of all the songs and it's becoming a little daunting. And I feel sort of the honeymoon is over. The magic and mystery of that first series of concerts at all those different venues, and that whole sort of trial by fire boot camp kind of thing, that's over, and we had the great big sigh of relief, and now we're getting down to the work of preparing for our first full concert.
When I first walked in, I was completely overwhelmed because everyone was coming back from having not seen each other, hugging and kissing, and I just was standing there like, oh my God, I'm leaving right now. I mean, although they reassured you that your buddy was going to get you, like I said, was going to help you and things like that, I was just completely overwhelmed. And then we sat down with the music, and they all had music somehow. I didn't have any music. And Dennis just started going. And I'm like, new, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm sitting in a seat, and people have seats, and I'm just in the back row. And it was so overwhelming. And I remember he picked up the German song, and I went, there's no way, ever. I mean, how are we learning this? Not just me, but us. And then the music, we kept going through this music, and I kept saying, this is incredibly ambitious. I mean, even being someone as musical as I am, how once a week in one rehearsal are we ever going to be singing this remotely right?
It was a little, it was a little overwhelming. The music was beautiful music, and it was difficult, and I thought, wow, this man, Dennis, must sure have faith in us that he thinks we're going to be able to sing this music.
I was a little frightened by the thought of having memorized everything as piece after piece after piece kept coming out from the library as TJ was walking around and handing things out.
I remember calling my sister, who is in a chorus in Pittsburgh, in the women's chorus in Pittsburgh, saying, do you do this? I mean, are there 15 songs, 8-9 pages of German? There's one in French that I'll never, I just thought it was so ambitious and beyond anything that we would ever do, and how wrong I was. He would take one page of music and then go, okay, put it down. And I'd be like, I need it all. I need to know. And I'm like, I was just not used to rehearsing that way. I come from a musical theater background, and I was just like, I guess he knows what he's doing. I was just like, and he does know what he's doing.
I knew he was going to be a great director. I knew that. I knew he was going to be a perfect programmer. But he ended up being just such a good man. Just such a really good man. And I feel so honored to be able to spend 3 hours a week with him this way. It's great.
So this is the final valve. You all stay there. Whole company takes a bow, please. 1, 2, 3. Heel is back out. Alter and bow. And off. And go on.
10 minutes. This is your 10-minute call. This is 10 minutes.
Take a breath. Just get quiet. Because that's where the music comes from. It's that quiet space in your heart. And that's what we're here to do, is to deliver that to the audience.
So as your feet are connected to the earth, I want you to raise that rib cage up just a little bit. So to give that diaphragm some room. As you need to be able to take all the breath you can to be able to give that sweet tone of yours out to the audience. And remember what we're singing about. Because this is the first time they will hear those words. And it'll touch their heart. So just keep breathing. And most importantly, I want you to remember, we rock.
Maybe one life tonight.
In the beginning, there was a potluck. Brave women and men came together. Creation began. There was agreement. Despite that silly little Mars-Venus thing. There were auditions, rehearsals, and performance. And most importantly, shiny sequins. Really shiny sequins. Together, they brought forth a force of nature never seen before. Genesis. Let there be music.
The audience greeted us with a standing ovation before we even opened our mouths. It was just amazing. And I still listen to that recording of the very first song that we sang, the tune from Chicago, and will get tears in my eyes just thinking about this was the first sound we made to the world in our own concert.
It was scary going on stage in a wheelchair because I knew that eyes would be focused on me. And of course, eyes are focused on everybody in the chorus because of our wonderful attire. We love all the sparkle of those sequin tops. It's a stunning outfit. I'm very proud and happy to wear that outfit and to be part of the chorus.
Give 'em an
The audience gave us a very warm feeling. They were so receptive. And in turn, we fed off that, and that gave us more impetus to do better and better and better as we went.
There were wind chimes in the window, bells inside the clock, an organ in the corner, tunes in the music box. We sang while we were cooking or working in the yard. We sang although our lives were really hard. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart still feels full with the sound. Zurück and leise, in des Dunkels nächt'ger Stille, in des Dunkels nächt'ger Stille. I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more.
I was in the sailor group, and when we walked out, the crowd, really responded, and it was a lot of fun, and it really, egged us on to ham it up.
There is one particular thing that is nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form like any other.
There is nothing like a day.
There is nothing like the soft and wavy frame of a day.
101 pounds
visiting the farmlands with a group of lady Quakers on an apple picking spree.
Mama doesn't even have an inkling that I ditched them in Wenatchee and have joined SWC.
The whole time throughout, I'm having chills and just moved by every song.
People literally standing in the aisles and whooping, and it was something I had never experienced before.
I was just this bloody, weepy mess because they were up there experiencing what I've experienced for so long, and I know how good that feels.
It was just so uplifting to be able to conduct the women. They sang beautifully, they connected the phrasing, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. It lifted my soul, and I soared.
We had our meeting after after our performance, and I wasn't really sure. I thought we would just sit around and talk about how it went, what notes we missed, what words we forgot, what we wanted to do next year. I wasn't ever ready for what happened there. People one by one just started talking and spilling their souls about how deep this concert and the chorus has affected them.
I can't tell you how much this group has meant to me. I just love you guys so much.
Yeah, this just brought back my whole, it feels like home.
You all, my 100 new best friends, are the best cure for seasonal affective disorder.
I am just overwhelmed, obviously, at the wonderful and just wondrous gift that this has been.
If the world could learn how to build this kind of community in this amount of time, it'd be different.
So I'm just really grateful to the men's chorus and everything that came before, and all the work that has built up to this, that has created such a tremendous foundation of love that we can all just sort of float on and get this. So, bravo.
Well,